Latest National Bureau of Statistics report shows Nigeria's economy suffered full-year contraction in 2016, the worst since 1987. Plus, there is plan in motion by the federal government to embrace the Made in Nigeria products. Welcome to Business Nigeria. I am Yemisi Lanredo. First off, latest report released by the NBS reveals Nigeria's GDP contracted by 1.3% year-on-year in the fourth quarter of 2016, following a 2.24% decline in the previous period. It was the fourth consecutive quarter of contraction as lower oil prices keep hurting the oil sector. Considering full 2016, the economy contracted 1.5%, following a 2.5% growth in 2015. Well, this appears to be the first annual contraction in 25 years. And the persistent calls for Nigerians to start patronizing locally made goods and services have become imminent after the recent fall of the naira against the dollar, which affected many businesses in the country. Patronizing locally made goods will not only improve the economy, but also help to reduce unemployment and boost employment generation. The multiplier effect of patronizing local products is the demand of the labor, and ultimately it will contribute to the country's GDP. Now, the president had said Nigeria can only move from an import to an export-based economy if more Nigerians form the habit of buying made in Nigeria goods and services. Well, it's also worthy of note that nominal GDP growth of manufacturing in that fourth quarter of the GDP stood at 3.5% year-on-year and 3.37% points lower than 6.93% recorded in the corresponding period of 2015. All right, let's discuss this further. The GDP and also the Made in Nigeria goods, and joining me in the studio now to discuss this is Wale Oyekoya. He is a member of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. Many thanks for joining me, Prince Wale Oyekoya. All right, let's look at, before we go into the embracing the Made in Nigeria goods, let's look at the GDP. It contracted in the fourth quarter of 2015, and so bad is it that it was the worst since for 25 years now. We've not had it that bad in 2016.
Well, we shouldn't be surprised when we have a high rate of our import bill that is extremely high. Definitely, once we use most of our foreign reserve into importing some of what we don't really need, definitely it's going to really affect. Yes, it's one of the worst hits so far, especially with the price of oil that is really going down, nothing to cushion the effect, because we're supposed to be having a lot of our goods to be exporting now, but it's reversed the case because we're enjoying the price offer of the oil. But if it continues like this, definitely it's going to take us a little bit time before we could get out of recession. But the federal government is trying all its possible best to make sure that we get out of recession. I'm projecting to be in the third quarter that we should be able to get out of the hood. But we need to do more about strengthening our economy by improving on our infrastructure. That way, we can have a lot of investment on the ground. Yes,
diversification. Let's look at the agricultural sector, which is one of the main focus of diversification. But do you think with the call and with the move, do you think agriculture is actually running out of the steam? Of course, we know that given the seasonal fluctuations, we have those challenges there. But do you think that sector is actually running out of steam?
It's not really running out of steam. It's only we are running out of ideas. Let me put it that way, because if you have the people in the helms of our affair and they are not doing the right thing, definitely it's going to bound to happen. And definitely diversification is the only way out for us. It's not only Nigeria, every other country, because it's only Nigeria that is in recession, but it's how you are able to get out of recession that make you to come on top and be able to take care of your citizens. Yeah, definitely we are talking about diversification. Is our government really serious about it? To me, I give them half point, because nothing much has really been done in the sense that look at the budget that have been really given to agricultural sector. It has been very low. It never even go beyond 2%, which is totally against the Maputo Agreement of 10%, which Nigeria is a signatory to it. At least supposed to be having 10% of our GDP or of our budget going to agriculture, but it's not so. And look at how we've been importing so many things. We're importing what we can produce in the country. There's no way a country that is dependent on importation is going to really strive to help the nation, not only increasing or decreasing the GDP, what about the employment to the youth? So a lot of youth are just roaming about the street. They don't even know what to do. Look at all our technologies that where we're supposed to have so many robots of manufacturing of some of this equipment that we're supposed to be using, like light equipment, but we are not doing it. So a lot of things is being done wrong that the government really need to get their acts together.
Okay, let's look at the argument between, in some quarters, the Nigeria's economy remains Africa's largest. We know there's that subtle disagreement between Nigeria and South Africa on that note. But Nigeria has now released its fourth quarter GDP rate, and we see what it is now. But South Africa is yet to release its. But looking at the direction of the currency going in the opposite direction and what's happening all over the world, although South Africa's third quarter GDP grew, the economy grew at 0.7% thereabout. That's the third quarter. They're yet to release the fourth quarter. Do you still think Nigeria has the largest economy?
From the beginning, I tend to disagree, because you don't just look at the population of a nation. You have to look at what are you really producing, what are you really exporting. And we depend on oil. Oil is not doing us any good. If you go to South Africa today, so many things are working. What is happening? What is working in Nigeria? The infrastructure is super than what we have here. Employment. The employment rate is very high, unlike what is happening in Nigeria. So we really need to really strengthen on what we can do locally in order to really improve on our GDP, not relent on the effort that we are the largest robust economy in the continent where we cannot feed ourselves. A country that cannot feed itself does not really worth its name. So to me, I still give it to the South Africa. All
right, now let's get back to the Made in Nigeria products. The federal government says it is putting in motion, or it has put in motion, plans to enforce buying the goods, and one of the ways or the motion is that is giving approval to the Bureau of Public Procurement to increase the patronage through a review of its acts and services. Is that the first step?
Well, it's a very good initiative and very good thinking, but you have to really think that, are we really prepared for this thing? You have to look at the infrastructure we have on the ground. Without infrastructure, there's nothing like Made in Nigeria. Yeah, it's good for us to be able to patronize what we have, which is what they call patriotism. But for you to be very patriotic to your country, what is the country really moving up to? Because you have to look at most of the manufacturing associations as of today, some of them are really lacking foreign exchange to really buy the raw materials or the equipment. Some of them are even moving out of the country. So there are so many things that the government needs to do. Forget about you are telling the citizens to tighten up their belt. What about you that are leader that you are getting fatter and we are getting leaner? So a lot of need to be done. You have to start from the head. You have to start from the government himself. You are talking about Made in Nigeria. What about the Innoson that is producing vehicles to Nigeria? Are they patronizing it? Recently, the National Assembly, they just procured so many of this exotic SUV. Why can't they patronize Made in Nigeria? If you look at most of them, the suit they are wearing, the agbada they are wearing, the shoe they are wearing, the wristwatch they are wearing, most of them are foreign goods. So if you're really going to tell the citizen that buy Made in Nigeria, you have to start from there, because they say charity begins at home. And you have to understand that a lot of people are looking up to the leaders. If a leader is wearing something that is made out of Nigeria and you are telling Nigeria to do this, it's not going to work. And look at it. The infrastructure is not there, especially the power. There's nothing you can do with made in Nigeria without electricity, without security, without road. So many of these myriad problems that the government really need to tackle first.
But so much seems to be happening in Abia State, especially where the Nigerian products are actually churning out from. We'll look at what's happening there. And of course, the government is also saying the Nigerian military is already wearing boots made in Abia State. Maybe other states can actually copy from whatever Abia might be doing. We'll look at that after the break. Do stay with us on Business Nigeria. It's Business Nigeria, and the latest reports from the NBS shows Nigeria's GDP contracted by 1.3% year-on-year, and the worst since 1987. Also, we're looking at the Made in Nigeria products that the federal government says it is planning to put motion in place to enforce the buying of such goods. I've been speaking with Wale Oyekoya of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry. All right, before we went on that break, I said when we come back, we'll be looking at, recently the federal government commended the Abia State government for its ingenuity in the production of Nigerian goods. But really, Abia products have always been there. So what is new?
There's nothing new in it because Abia have already been known to be an industrial state. But what has the government really doing to really encourage these people? Until recently, our former president Obasanjo visited the place that, I'm going to be wearing made in Abia shoe. So there's all this one is nothing but cosmetics because Abia is just one of the states of the 36 states we have. What about all the other states that have marginal and they have advantage of what they can produce? You see, a lot of encouragement to come from the federal government, especially if you really want people to buy made in Nigeria, because look at the quality. People go for quality. That is why
I was actually going to talk about that. Is there any form of strategy that the government is actually going to put in place to check
No, there's
quality?
nothing like checkmate. Even the standard of organization, are they up to the task? If you're really going to believe in made in Nigeria, we really go to fortify most of our regulating agencies like the NAFDAC, NISOMCO, but all of them are corrupt to the tooth, all of them. So they really have to really get better orientation to the people that we are going to do the right thing and not just coming up to the people that are buying made in Nigeria when the environment is not conducive for businesses. Local producers are really suffering in this country. We are doing business with hardship. Why should that be? We have so many agencies, so many multiple taxes, and that's why you see so many businesses leaving the country for us to salvage it. And we cannot salvage it alone. We still need the FDI, which is the foreign direct investment, and apart from the local production. And what is China producing that we cannot do? What they are going to do to buy Nigeria, made in Nigeria, is a very good initiative because it happened in Brazil, it happened in China.
But in your view, given the approval to the Bureau of Public Procurement now that the government has done, what is the strategy that you think they should be using to actually encourage people to buy made in Nigeria products?
As I said, our regulating agency have to be strengthened and be given better orientations that you have to really focus on what you are doing. That's number one. Number two, the government itself really have to improve on the infrastructures. Because without the electricity, without good road, without security, there's nothing that can be made in Nigeria that's going to come out good. And the raw materials are even not even available. I will advise the federal government that before you really go into full boom of that, we should go made in Nigeria. You have to soften the pedal. If not, you are going to encourage smuggling. Because by the time you are tightening the people's bet and you are not tightening your own, there definitely is going to be free for all, and it's going to be free for all these smugglers coming, bringing all kinds of wholesome goods into Nigeria. It's not going to help us.
Okay, Wale Oyekoya, many thanks for your time on Business Nigeria.
Thank you.
Yeah. It is estimated that about $530 billion was siphoned from African countries between 2008 and 2012 by multinationals engaged in illicit flow of funds, tax evasion, and other illegal activities. Chairperson of the West African Tax Administrators, Elfreda Thamba, who disclosed this at a conference in Abuja, says is alarming and charges African countries to find a lasting solution to this challenge.
Relevance of base erosion and profit shifting to the illicit flows of funds from Africa is the theme for this year's 5th Annual International Tax Conference. The conference, which draws participants from different African countries, is targeted at putting a stop to illicit flows of funds out of Africa, considering the relevance of the double taxation agreement to making this a possibility. Over time, the illicit flows of funds has posed grave dangers to African countries, and this conference serves as a wake-up call for Africa.
The lack of policy coherence, generally limited prioritization of tax administration, and the very deliberate actions of some multinational companies investing in our region are critical underpinnings of the alarming impact of base erosion, profit shifting, and illicit flows from our region.
As you know, we're having 6 papers. There's going to be a paper on BEPS, there's going to be a paper on tax compliance, but the main focus of the conference is on IFF, illicit flow of funds out of Africa.
Participants are in agreement that African countries must rise and block all leakages associated to illicit flows of funds from Africa, considering the importance of taxation in the development of Africa's economy.
We have to build internal technical capacity of our auditors to be able to tackle this problem through the audit of accounts. We have to introduce law reforms so that our laws clearly articulate measures that would take place if companies engage in illicit flows.
For Nigeria, within FIRS, we have a new department that focuses on transfer pricing. We have invited some specialists to come and train our staff, and they've been quite successful. I can tell you, in the last 1 year, we have been able to find out a few companies that were involved in, I won't call them illegal, but maybe trying to be engaged in tax avoidance. But we've had them pay the outstanding taxes now.
The two-day conference will birth a communique that is expected to draw a roadmap for Africa towards putting an end to illicit funds and tax evasion.
Well, local contractors owed debt by the government may soon have a reason to smile as the Nigerian Senate has asked for the urgent payment of all the arrears under the $3 million domestic debt owed them. A motion sponsored by Senator Oluremi Tinubu and co-sponsored by 5 other lawmakers say the repayment is necessary to prevent an economic crisis that may lead to collapse of banks. The Senate says by settling the local debt, many businesses will stay afloat, while there would be more money in circulation to cushion the effects of the ongoing recession.
The Senate is disturbed that data released by the Debt Management Office put Nigeria's domestic debt as at June 30, 2016, at over 10 trillion naira. Local contractors' debt is estimated to amount to an additional 2 trillion naira. Opines that settling these local debts will ensure that affected businesses stay afloat through increase in circulation of money in order to bring the current economic recession to an end.
If the federal government does not step in to pay some of these contractors that are owing the banks and to pay some of its own indebtedness to the banks, the end result, Mr. President and my eminent colleagues, may be that a bank, God forbid, could give up, and this will start a domino effect of failing banks across the landscape of our economy.
Inability of government to pay outstanding debts will have a serious impact on our economy, and this matter needs to be addressed. I'm aware that government is also trying to look for long-term funding, but this must be a priority both in our 2017 budget. Enough provision should be made to pay local contractors, and federal government should fast-track the bond they're trying to raise.
All right, following consultations with stakeholders in the oil-rich Niger Delta state, the acting president, Yemi Osinbajo, says a plan to establish a gas industrial park valued at about $20 billion in the region has begun. Tagged the Gas Revolution Industrial Park, GRIP, Ogidigben, the project, which would be realized by public-private partnership, was also envisaged to be a regional hub for all gas-based industries. The project will cover 2,700 hectares of land with fertilizer, methanol, petrochemicals and aluminium plants located in the park that has already been designated as a tax-free zone by the government. The industrial park will be a cluster for several industries in one location, benefiting from an efficient, cost-competitive and abundant supply of natural gas, proximity to a deep-sea port and centralized utilities and services such as uninterrupted power, world-class telecommunications and processed water. The importation of petroleum products into the country is a fraud and must be put to an end if the nation is to make progress in the oil and gas sector. And that's coming from the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Dr. Ibe Kachiku. Dr. Ibe Kachiku said, aside the fact that it is a shame that Nigeria has been importing finished petroleum products over the years, despite having abundant oil resources, the system has been opaque for a long period. Kachiku told delegates at the ongoing Nigeria Oil and Gas Conference in Abuja that in 2016, the upstream sector of the oil and gas industry was challenged by the menace of asset vandalism. The minister noted that despite these, Nigeria remained a leading producer in Africa with the potential to boost production to neighborhood of 3 million barrels of oil per day by 2020. And crude oil prices stay mixed in the global market Wednesday. At the London market, the Brent trades upward at $55 a barrel, increasing in value by 34%. The OPEC basket brand sells for nearly $54 a barrel. And that's Business Nigeria. Many thanks for watching. I am Yemisi Landry Ido.